paper clipped it. Oh, thank you.
Doesn't remember any of it today.
That is not a requirement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where do we start public hearing first?
I do want to know that. I do. Perfect. We're talking, we're videoing, we have people, we're ready.
Waiting for the magic hour.
All our devices are working.
Yeah.
Right.
I have one of those Apple Watches.
Yeah, where is it?
Well, that's it. It's on its charger. See?
Oh, yeah.
I walked out the door.
It's right where it belongs. Yeah.
My wife bought me one of those chargers that does the phone and the watch at the same
Oh, nice,
time.
yeah.
Well, they're both there.
They're charging.
It's along with my coffee cup on the kitchen counter. As I grab the bag, the purse, the stuff, and
Everything
left
else
the
is
coffee.
gone.
Yeah. It's just, oh well.
That's the way it goes.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, Steve. How true.
Did you see Mike? Look at Mike sitting there.
Oh my gosh.
Michael. There we go.
Did he video himself last night?
Yeah.
Something else to do?
I was in trouble too. I didn't fill mine out.
I did fill it out.
No, you said that, but we can't find it.
I filled it out twice. Truthfully. I know one for
I
sure.
think everybody did.
Yeah.
What's up? Yeah, I thought you did.
I can find it.
Ricky?
And I have to. Good, how are you? The other one, you didn't fill this out either.
Yeah, we both, not Ricky, I was making it again.
Just when you have time. Oh, I'm sorry, Steve, is this yours?
That's mine. I just gave it to you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock on the back, 8 o'clock in central New York.
By 8, we might have it figured out.
Yes, government works slowly sometimes. We're going to get this meeting started. We're going to start with a public hearing.
Yes. Let me just move all my piles of stuff.
Public hearing on Salina First LLC.
Yes, notice is hereby given that a public hearing pursuant to Section 859A of the New York General Municipal Law will be held by the City of Syracuse Industrial Development Agency on the 19th day of March at 8 a.m. local time at 233 East Washington Street, Common Council Chambers, City Hall, Syracuse, New York, in connection with the following matter. Salina First LLC, or an entity to be formed, requested the agency undertake a project consisting of A, the acquisition of an interest in the approximately 82,534 square feet of vacant land located at 1081 South Salina Street in the city of Syracuse, the construction of 1 or 2 buildings to be determined in accordance with applicable zoning requirements, comprising an aggregate of 52,000 square feet to house approximately 23,400 square feet of commercial and light manufacturing space on the first floor, and B, approximately 11,250 square feet of commercial office space on the second and third floors, and approximately 11,200 square feet of mixed income residential units on the fourth and fifth floors, and approximately 5,700 square feet of retail space located on the first floor, and the creation of approximately 55 surface parking spots and approximately 30,000 square feet of green space, all located on the land. Excuse me. The acquisition and installation in and at the land and facility of furniture, fixtures, and equipment, including but not limited to green roofs, bio retention areas, solar panels, and that is together the project facility. B, the granting of certain financial assistance in the form of exemptions from real property tax, state and local sales and use tax, and mortgage recording tax as limited by Section 874 of the General Municipal Law, collectively the financial assistance. C, the appointment of the company or its designee as an agent of the agency in connection with the acquisition, construction, equipping, and completion of the project facility. And D, the lease or sale of the land from the agency to the company pursuant to a lease or sale agreement, the lease of the land from the company to the agency pursuant to a lease agreement, the acquisition of an interest in the equipment pursuant to a bill of sale from the company to the agency, and the sublease of the project facility back to the company pursuant to a sublease agreement. And the company is or will be the initial owner or operator of the project facility. The agency previously held a public hearing with respect to the project. Excuse me. Following publication, one component of the project changed, namely the company now proposes approximately 11,250 square feet to be used as mixed income residential, previously slated for commercial office space. The agency will, at the above stated time and place, hear all persons with views with respect to the modification. A copy of the application and any supplements filed by the company with the agency with respect to the project, including an analysis of the costs and benefits of the project, are available for public inspection during the business hours at the office of the agency, located at 201 East Washington Street, 6th floor, Syracuse, New York.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor of this project?
Good morning, everyone. Very nice to see you again. I'm Gail Montplaisir with Salina First LLC, and we have kind of the updated project description and everything that you heard, and we also did bring along drawings, and Norman Smith is our architect, and he will go through the drawings for you, and then, of course, we're here to answer any questions.
Good morning. The project site, as you know, is located at the confluence of Cortland, Salina, Montgomery, and Burt is the nearest cross street to the north. This is a street view of what we're proposing, looking to the south along South Salina with the light industrial or light manufacturing area, and then the retail zone with the office and the residential above. We have some additional three-dimensional perspectives, which I'll show you, which I think speak to that a little bit more directly.
Can you move up a little bit more? So you
Yeah. So the site is to the north here. The church is here. The Chinese restaurant is here. We're proposing the light manufacturing area here, what we call a pocket park between that and then the 5-story building here. The surface parking is down to the south, and then there's an additional area here that will be devoted to green space and some stormwater retention facilities and things like that as we work those out with the city of Syracuse. This is the 5-story portion. The accessibility is from the high side of the site. The site does slope a little bit from north down to the south. So this building will have a slight podium effect, which you'll see on the elevations. But what we've done is try to work very carefully to minimize that, because one of the points of this project is to produce a street face along South Salina from an urban standpoint that's something that's imageable and scalable to human pedestrians as part of the sort of master plan approach to the South Salina corridor. I apologize that we don't have a board behind me, but I couldn't get that on the airplane. On the second floor, we have two floors as stated of office across this area. You can see we also have a cubic volume that's shifted here. Architects like volumes that shift because they're just interesting. But it also picks up the angle of Cortland, so that as you're coming up South Salina, there's a face of building that you see as you approach to sort of announce this piece of development. The fact that hopefully South Salina is getting some new development and it's getting catalyzed in some respect. We're also proposing green roof and PV photovoltaic solar array on the roof of the light manufacturing facility to the extent that we're able to accommodate that. And we plan on using the green roof at least in part as a stormwater, what the stormwater BMPs, best management practices, to accommodate the stormwater needs from Syracuse. We'll be working with Russell Howe and the others in the city on that. The next two final levels up are the residential, and I know this is very dark, it's very hard for you to see, but we have 8 units per floor, 4 in the sort of shifted portion, 4 here. Of course, this is the roof down below again on the light manufacturing. We are also proposing green roof on the top of this as well, and now the extent of that obviously will be determined by as we move further into the project and develop the roofscape more in terms of things that have to occur up there from building system standpoints. But it's our intention to maximize that as much as possible. And then we have two site elevations, a smaller one and a larger one. The larger one starts from the Chinese restaurant going down to the south, and you can see how the site slopes gently from north to south. Again, as I said in the plan, we've worked very hard to make sure that we produce a friendly street face along this side. So we're proposing an arcade that the building sits on top of it, that appears to be an arcade, that has storefronts in it. Those are the neighborhood retail areas. The fact that it does slope a little bit, we do have to accommodate that, but what we're trying to do is to use that as a stormwater retention facility, plantings, and street trees, and things like that. So again, it's a pretty friendly space to walk by. We're also trying to minimize it by having moved it up to the north a little bit with the amount of drop that we have to accommodate, because again, it's very important, I think, to not have blank street faces. We were just walking over here today, and one of the street faces along Fayetteville is a parking garage, and it's blank up to here, which is my height. It's not very friendly, so we're trying to avoid that. In the longer street view, you can see how it kind of fits into the general pitch of the site. This is the cubic volume here. We're treating these as two smaller volumes architecturally. The light manufacturing gets a little bit of a sort of a billboard piece to sort of match the height of the Chinese restaurant building to the north of that. This is the pocket park area, and then the light manufacturing facility is pulled to the back of that. And then finally, we have, some fairly darkly printed preliminary 3D massing models, but hopefully they're enough for you to see. This is from the northwest, looking down, so the light manufacturing, the arcade, the building with the shifted volume, a little bit lower, looking the same direction. And then from the southwest looking up, the surface parking in the church would be here, which is not modeled in this particular view. And then from the southeast looking to the northwest, it gives you a sense of this. So that's the project synopsis. I can answer any questions from the architectural scene.
And if you don't mind using the mic, I know you were presenting, but then when,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry.
So I just have a brief question. Speaking to the reason for the modification, I understand the purpose was originally for office light manufacturing. You now want to, or commercial, and now you want to convert to residential.
Right, and that was because of cash flow. We needed to make sure that we had a continuous cash flow model, and when we went further into our research and work here in the marketplace, you know, we have a 1% vacancy rate in residential, and we have a much higher vacancy rate in office. Therefore, we felt that it was very important to have a component of residential.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, anybody else who want to speak in favor of this project? Thank you, Aggie.
Hi, I'm Aggie Lane of the Urban Jobs Task Force, and we're delighted that we have at last on the South Side, South Salina corridor, a project. We're cheering. And it sounds like it's got all the components. It's got jobs, permanent jobs. It's got some residential, mixed income, I'm hoping, yes. It's got some light manufacturing. And as a proponent of green infrastructure, it's got a green roof and solar panels. I think I heard that you were going to try to distribute some of that electricity through. So, you know, I can't complain at all, and I did notice. I did notice those. Wait, there's $4 million in construction wages. So I'm I have big expectations. We all do, that you will hire out of the city. You will hire especially minority construction workers. So thumbs up from our point of view.
Anybody else who'd like to speak in favor of the project? Anybody else who'd like to speak in favor? Anybody who would like to speak against the project? Anybody who would like to speak against the project? Anybody who would like to speak against the project? Okay, we'll call that closed then. We're going to call the meeting to order. It's 8:14-ish.
Ish.
Steve doesn't have a watch on.
No, I don't have my watch. We're going to take a roll call. We have all the board members, one in, where are you?
Albany.
There we go. So all are here. Proof of notice.
Steve, I'd just like to note for the record that the proof of notice that was filed did include the Albany location, and it is open to the public, and that was noted in the public hearing. So anybody who wanted to go and sit with Mike
In Albany?
it was welcome to do so, yes.
There we go. Thank you. Minutes from the last meeting. Everybody get a chance to review the minutes, and we're looking for an approval for them. Any changes or can I get a motion?
Make a motion to
I'll make a
approve.
motion.
Motion from
Let 'em
Albany?
have it.
Seconded? Second, Rick? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Committee reports. Finance Committee.
It's Mike. Mike?
Looking
I know, sorry.
looking for you next door here, yeah. Go ahead, Mike, this is yours, Finance Committee?
Can someone else, it's easier for, it's harder, so there is a little bit of a delay.
The Finance Committee did meet last week, to review the proposed cooperation agreement between the city, the SLDC, and SIDA. That agenda item is coming up further in your board for more discussion. But the Finance Committee did vote to recommend approval of that cooperation agreement. I don't know, Ricky, if you have anything, or Ken, anything else to add?
No, I don't.
Okay. That's what happened at Finance.
Audit Committee.
Audit Committee met as well to review the end-of-year financial statements for SIDA, as well as SLDC, which will be coming up after this, I believe. Pending any discussion or concerns or changes here, the Audit Committee is pleased to recommend approval of the statements. I believe everybody has a copy. Mike is also here from Grossman St. Amour, who oversaw the end-of-year financials. So if there's any specific questions or concerns, I'm sure Mike would be happy to address it.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, financial statements. Mike, you're on.
Here we go, Michael.
Introduce yourself and
Hi, I'm Michael Son. I'm with Grossman St. Amour. I'm the partner in charge of the engagement. So I've been working with SIDA for a number of years now. So just want to say, we talked to the audit committee this past Friday, went through everything in great detail. So the presentation that's in your packages today is more of a summary of that. So I'll just cover the highlights. Actually, in your presentation, I physically highlighted important things that we discussed during the audit committee to make it easier for the committee. I'll just flip through the slides pretty quickly, so if there's any questions, big picture standpoint, the audit went extremely well. We have no concerns or issues. From a control standpoint, no material weaknesses, no compliance findings. We'll have what we call a clean audit opinion, unmodified, so extremely well, so similar to past years. So a couple things happened this past year. If we go to slide 2 real quick, is there's quite a lot of financial statement disclosures that changed this year, primarily because of things being either paid or finally resolved, final payments made to the city of Syracuse and or other things. So a lot of footnote disclosures that were historically carried forward for a number of years have actually kind of shrunk because the activity's actually gone down to zero for items been paid off. So one of the biggest items is the SEDCO loan. If you recall, there was a loan SEDCO was paying back SIDA. That was forgiven by the board. So, there was a huge footnote disclosure, almost a page long, that's kind of shrunk down to just discussing that item in the, in the current financial statements. So, Also, if you recall, for the last 10 plus years, the Destiny USA fees passed through SIDA. A portion went to the city of Syracuse, a portion went to Onondaga County. That's actually the last year of the arrangement, so you'll see $3.8 million coming in, $3.8 million leaving SIDA, so it's a pass-through. None of those fees actually stay with SIDA. It was just the way the arrangement was set up, but that actually will fall off also this year. So, slide 3 is more required communications, pretty standard stuff. Slides 3. We have no uncorrected or corrected misstatements. That's a good thing. John's team works extremely well with us to making sure the books and records are as clean, and from an audit standpoint, we get through that fairly quickly and timely. The only thing we have a couple comments to management is on the closing books and processes there. What that revolves around is the software has limitations on how you close out your books. If you recall, in the past year, the current accounting system you use called Macola doesn't allow you to properly close it out on a software standpoint, but there's controls and processes in place to ensure that you don't have backdating of entries in the past fiscal years, and that's just a nature of the software, not much you can do with it. So, but John and his team are well aware of it, and we understand the controls and processes, and it's been well observed during the course of the audit. So slide 4 just goes to the audit report. I kind of cover the big points here. Clean audit, extremely well. You'll notice in the back of your financial statements there's a supplemental schedule that talks about the revenue bonds and other bonds outstanding. In your package there was a couple late entries that a couple folks didn't respond until last minute, so there's a couple updates. We'll do that for the Kraus bonds outstanding and the school district bonds that were outstanding, but it doesn't change your actual financial statement numbers at all. It's just a disclosure in the back that gets actually reported to Paris too. So that couldn't be, we just got that final confirmation yesterday-ish. So slide 5 kind of, goes through the highlights. You can see I actually highlighted the big picture stuff, and if you, on page 5 and 6, and then if you go to slide summary, it goes through the significant items here, which I kind of discussed. Your receivables decreased about $4.8 million. That's primarily because of the loan forgiveness of SEDCO. And that's a non-cash item, meaning you didn't receive, $4 million of cash. You forgave that, so that'll stay with the organization, the SEDCO organization. You also paid down a bunch of liabilities that were recorded, for the last 10 plus years, back to the city of Syracuse and to CDBG. Those are past grant programs and other things that were finally paid back to the city to resolve those type of grant programs. Some significant project fees this year. You can see your fees went down slightly, about $300,000 in totality, but some of the biggest ones are like 300 Washington Street for $350,000, Tower Trust for $194,000. Those are all items that you guys have seen during the course of the year and approved, during your board minutes that we've actually were able to observe and tie out and retest those. So, some legal fees paid out for about $1.3 million paid out this past year. So that was a big, you can see this, the Amadeus transaction there. So that was that, so if I said it properly, so.
You did.
So, the board knew about, it's very clear, it's part of the board minutes and everything. So the really last slide is investment policy compliance, and one thing you'll see here is actually that policy, the investment policy compliance that we issue is actually different than the past years. The Public Authorities Office actually issues out guidance sometimes, and they actually, this is the first time in probably 10 years, they actually had specific guidance on changing that report. So if you look at that report, your investment policies now are actually like almost cut and pasted, and very verbatim per se, what we have to sign off to is like, you're in accordance with your policies and procedures for investments. You really don't have a lot of investments outside of what I'll call cash and cash equivalents, but you're in compliance with those investment policies. So that report went from 1 page to about 3.5, 4 pages now. So, and I also said there's no non-compliance matters noted or no material weaknesses. So, and that kind of highlights the big picture of everything.
Thank you. Any questions? Can I get a motion to accept the
Make a motion to accept the report.
report? Second, Ricky? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Move on to, thank you very much, Mike. Moving on to 1081 South Salina Street.
Good morning, everyone. This first agenda in your packet with respect to this matter relates to the public hearing that we just heard. And back in December of 2017, the agency entered into a purchase agreement with the company because actually SIDA is in fee title to the parcel on which that project is going to be developed. And so there's a purchase contract in place, but the term is about to expire. And we are requesting that the agency extend the term of the purchase agreement through the end of this year for several reasons. One, the project land was a brownfield site, and SIDA worked to get the project into the brownfield cleanup program, which it was successful in doing, and that happened within the last few weeks. At this point, what needs to happen is the company needs to be added to the brownfield cleanup agreement so it can benefit from some of those credits that will be available, and they will assume the responsibility for cleaning up the site. So we need additional time to allow that to happen, and that's controlled by the state, not by SIDA. In addition, because of all of these delays, they are working with permitting and financing currently, on their permitting and financing currently, and they need to work through some issues with the city, and they are doing that. They're working collaboratively with the city, and they're obviously working with their lenders. Once they finalize the project to comply with any permitting or zoning issues, they will then be able to finance the project. So for all of those reasons, we're asking the board to extend the purchase agreement through the end of this year.
Same terms.
Yes, nothing changes except the date.
Right. I'll move it.
That's all, okay, second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank
So
you.
moved. Thank you. Moving on to Salina First.
Yep, same project,
Same
different name.
project,
Yep.
Different
Rose-
name, different name,
Right.
same project.
Rose by any other name.
Yeah.
So the first agenda with respect to this is the amended inducement resolution. Because there was the modification to the project agreement and we held the new public hearing, we wanted to amend the inducement resolution to reflect the current project as we know it to be. And so with that, this is the amended inducement resolution. None of the financing changes, none of the assistance that you previously approved has changed. Really, the only thing that has changed is the project description, which was outlined earlier today. In addition, there is an amended and restated agency agreement attached to this inducement resolution. There was already an agency agreement in place attached to your original resolution, but this one is amended and restated to update the project description and update the applicable dates because we are extending the purchase agreement. We're extending the agency agreement to allow the closing to happen before the end of the year. Other than that, nothing has changed from the one you previously approved.
Okay, thank you. So we have to move this anyways?
We do,
So,
yes.
Yeah, okay. Anybody make a motion?
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? So moved.
Thank you.
And now we will move on to 100 Madison Street.
No, you're not yet. You're still here.
Oh,
Two more
we
resolutions.
gotta
Two
do
more.
the, that's right, the inducement, right.
Did the inducement,
So-
I think. Didn't
Pilot, yes.
Pilot, the pilot.
Right, so the next resolution with respect to this project is the pilot resolution. The pilot resolution calls and requests that the pilot schedule be the priority and commercial and residential pilot schedule, which is a 15-year pilot. It is in compliance with your UTEP. The project does qualify because of its location. And so we are asking that you approve as part of the financial assistance for this project, this pilot resolution with the schedule that is attached.
Somebody want to move it?
Make a motion.
Okay, got a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Thank
So
you.
moved.
The next resolution with respect to this project is the final approving resolution, and this resolution allows and authorizes the execution and delivery of all of the necessary transactional documents to confer the benefits that were previously approved.
Can I get a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye? Okay, now that moves it.
Thank you.
Thank you. 100 Madison Street.
Yes, there are two agenda items related to this project. The first one is approval of a waiver of potential conflict of interest. As this board is well aware, as you are also the SLDC board, you are represented by Bousquet Holstein at both SIDA and the SLDC. Sue Katzoff drafted the cooperation agreement in collaboration with the city's attorneys and Corporation Counsel. They have come to an agreement on the language, but Sue representing 2 of the 3 parties to the agreement, there is a potential conflict. We worked with, and you'll remember, the SLDC worked with also Barclay Damon. I've spoken with the attorney we worked with at Barclay Damon, who would gladly step in and represent the SLDC should the need arise if a conflict arose, so that Sue would represent SIDA, Chris Centaur would represent the SLDC, conflicts would be dealt with. So this is just a waiver of that potential conflict of interest here with a backup plan.
Questions from the board?
Am I correct? It's most likely Matt Kerwin, who has some background in.
It was Chris Centaur who we worked with.
Okay.
Yep.
We need a motion to move this. Can I get a motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
Oops, sorry, Ricky.
Second, Ricky. All in favor? Aye.
Great.
We'll move on to the second part.
Yes, so the next item on your agenda is the approval of a resolution authorizing cooperation agreement between the City of Syracuse, the Syracuse Local Development Corporation, and this agency relative to the redevelopment of the 100 Madison project, aka the AXA complex. We are all intimately familiar with this project, and the Deputy Mayor is here on behalf of the city to answer any additional questions the board may have related to the project. As a reminder, there is an investment by the SLDC into the rehabilitation of the infrastructure at the site. There is a $1.5 million gap that this board is being asked to provide as equity into the total cost of the project, which is $10.3 million estimated right now. We're working with the state on financing, and this would complete the financing for the project to move forward, not only with the rehabilitation, but continuing efforts for the retention of downtown's largest employer at that site. The Deputy Mayor is here.
Good morning. Excuse me, I'm definitely coming down with something, so I will not be touching anything or anyone in here. I'm coming before you. The AXA Tower complex is a signature establishment in the downtown. It is the northern gateway project of the Syracuse Surge. Did not get up during the public hearing, but we are thrilled to hear about Salina First and what's going to happen down Salina Street. This is the gateway on all of the development that's going to be happening on that corridor. One thing in particular I want to make note for this body and the public here is that because of the ownership structure, it positions us for this to be one of the first signature Syracuse build projects. We will be prepared to work with the construction manager, whoever that may be, from design through scoping of the project and to development once financing is secured and construction happens. We are positioned because of that ownership structure to work hand in hand to ensure that we're hiring locally. While Syracuse Build concentrates mainly on labor, you cannot have that conversation without also being engaged in small business development involvement in the project, including minority women and veteran-owned projects.
Any other questions from the board?
Mike is off the map.
He's back, hang on. There he is.
President, did you have any questions there?
Just, I do not have any questions. I lost you guys for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was so enthralled with the Deputy Mayor, I forgot to wiggle the thing.
Okay, any questions from board members? Otherwise,
Okay.
motion for the resolution. Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. So moved. On to Seneca Armory.
Yes. The next project is the next item on your agenda is approval of a authorization for a public hearing for Seneca Armory Associates. The project is located at 239, 245 West Fayette Street in the Seneca building. You may also know it as the building that houses Mulrooney's.
It's a
See that? I
better
see you, Ricky.
description.
Due to the historic nature of the building, the project is expected to cost just over $4 million, which is a bit high. The project owner is seeking benefits from the agency to assist with that cost in the form of exemptions from the mortgage recording tax of about $20,000 and sales and use tax of about $100,000. At this time, there is no request for a pilot. And again, this is just authorizing a public hearing at our next meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Northside Genesee Art Associates.
So this resolution before you is only the seeker resolution. And actually, Nora and I are going to split the presentation of this to the board. But I think it's important for the board to understand that every single action you take by law is required to be preceded by a seeker review. So it's not something we do on some projects and not others. We are obligated to undertake a seeker review by law. The process is when an application comes in, the applicant has to fill out an EAF, which is an environmental form. It is attached to our applications. It is mandated as part of the application process. Once that is done and submitted, it is reviewed. In this case, as we have done in others, we have partnered with CNS to help us review that, to get input on it. Depending on the project, if there are other agencies that are involved, you are mandated by state law to send a letter on 30 days' notice indicating your intent, if you so choose, to act as lead agency for reviewing the project. In this case, the board appointed itself as lead agency previously. Subsequent to that appointment, those 30-day letters went out to every single involved agency identified in the project. Once those letters go out, those involved agencies have the ability to submit, either object or submit information relative to the review or concerns that they have. In this case, there were a couple of agencies that did submit correspondence with respect to concerns that had been raised through their agencies or their reviews that they were undertaking. Those concerns were then relayed to CNS. They were relayed to the company. The company, in conjunction with CNS and additional questioning, had to respond in kind to each and every issue raised by one of the involved agencies. That information was submitted and again reviewed by CNS. So this is a comprehensive review that is mandated by state law that this agency undertook in conjunction with your partners, so our office and CNS. Right, right. We're not kidding. The process took quite a while because there was an enormous amount of back and forth. Additional information would come in, CNS would have additional questions as a result of that. They would go back to the company would in kind respond. That has all been done. It has all been reviewed. It has been discussed internally and externally, and now we are at a point where we are ready to move forward and make a determination. And after doing all of that, the board, in conjunction with CNS, is suggesting that there are no negative environmental impacts as a result of this project, and therefore, attached in your agenda is all of the information reviewed, the entire EAF, and the negative declaration that would be issued by this board. Someone from the company and their counsel is here if you have any questions, but otherwise, and Nora can certainly add to it because she worked very closely with CNS and the attorney in our office to do the review. So if you have specific questions, but I wanted to make sure the board understood what the process was and that you understand we do it for every project that comes before you. Some are obviously don't generate this level of input, but when they do, this is the process that is undertaken.
I would just also add for the board a couple of things. We met with the project and the zoning administrator early on, and the sort of collaborative decision was SIDA's in the best position to do the most comprehensive review, just from a resources perspective. So as you know, working with our fellow sister agencies, the Planning Commission and the BZA, this was something we were able to do to step up and provide administrative support for the entire review process. You know, that was done in conjunction with the zoning administrator and the zoning team who staffs both of those boards. And that's really how we got here. The project then submitted an application to us so we could get that ball rolling. And I would just add to Sue's point that the seeker determination is a prerequisite for any action by any board. So neither the Planning Commission nor the Board of Zoning Appeals can move forward without a seeker determination. As lead agency, that responsibility falls to us, and now they will be able to go forward with their own determinations on the project and their scope of review.
And for purposes of today's request, I would note there's no additional action being requested of the board today. You are not being asked to approve the project. You have not approved the project. You are not being asked today to grant any financial assistance. This is the first step in the process. So all that is being asked today is that you approve the negative declaration based upon the extensive review that has been taken.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Comments from board members or questions? I think that one of the important things here from my perspective is the fact that this is by approving the seeker, we're not approving the project at this point. We're allowing the planning board and such to review and to make their determinations, and then when that project, if that project were to come back to us, we'd have those the new information included in it.
Correct. Correct.
So, okay, yeah, I'm good with that. So, can we get a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Alan Byer.
Okay. So, just bear with me 1 second while I get to my place in the agenda. Alan Byer is a project that this board previously approved and actually granted a temporary sales tax appointment. The sales tax appointment that is currently in place is going to expire this month. Actually, it technically expired the 1st of this month. The company originally came back to us and asked us if we would entertain an extension because they are obligated by the dealer to put into place and acquire certain materials before they're able to actually close with us. So they are requesting an extension to May 31st in order to keep the ball rolling and not do anything that's going to negatively impact their ability to actually position themselves to close with us. So that is the first resolution in your agenda.
So moved.
Can I get a second? All in favor? Aye.
Okay. The next resolution in your agenda is the company then came back to us to indicate that there was actually a second parcel located behind the property that we originally moved on, so the front parcel that we undertook the project on is the actual, what you would think, the dealership. Behind that parcel, there is an auto body shop, which was not included in the original application. Through conversations their counsel had with the company, it was discovered that, in fact, some of the job creation was going to be as part of that back parcel, which means they need to come back to us because it's not part of our project. So they did, and their counsel is here, and we put together a resolution requesting a new public hearing to properly describe the project. Because while their total project costs always anticipated that, the project description did not include that second parcel, and the pilot agreement would not have extended. Should the pilot agreement be approved, it would not extend to that back parcel, and that requires a new public hearing. This morning, we learned that in addition to the parcel behind...
More secret land.
Yes! To the west, there is yet another, which would be the third parcel, that is owned by one or more of these entities. That is to the west. It's approximately 2 acres, and it contains an approximately 35,000 square foot building that is, I believe, the used car facility. And they are asking to have that added to this new project description. So the request before you is to authorize a new public hearing to amend the project description to include these 2 additional parcels. We will work with council and the company to gain additional information regarding those parcels so that Nora can perform a new cost-benefit analysis, and we will bring it all back to the board. Now, their counsel is here, and I'm sure would answer any questions you have about how this has unfolded, but here we are.
Don't let anybody ever say we don't do due diligence.
So can we hear from the council? Just,
Do I have to speak?
He's out looking for new land.
Kevin McAuliffe, Barclay Damon, 125 East Jefferson Street. It does remind me a lot of the old Abbott and Costello, who's on first. Because as we got closer to the closing with Sue, more entities kept appearing in the title work. And we said, who's West Genesee Real Estate? And through some confusion that I think is associated with estate planning, because there's no other logical reason for it, there are a lot of different entities involved. And then as we drilled down, even yesterday, saying now, let's make clear here, it is just these 2 parcels. Then it turned out some of the jobs and some of the work is on this old building to the west, which is the used car facility. So in order to really properly encapsulate all the jobs that we're creating and all the work that's being done, we really have to add all 3 parcels together as part of the defined project in order to have it properly before you. So we apologize for all the confusion. It's been wonderful because I have more opportunities to talk to Sue and to Nora, but I think we're running out of property now to add to the project. This is all that they own over there, so all 3 parcels will now be before you.
And I just want to clarify, with respect to the prior resolution and the sales tax appointment that is being extended, that is only allowed to be used on the 1 parcel that we have already approved. And Kevin's client, exactly, is going to sign a certification to that effect. But they have represented to us that the equipment and what they're purchasing now only applies to the actual dealership. They will obviously extend it beyond that once we close, but for now, they will only receive a benefit for the dealership.
Correct.
so just so I can get in my head here, we're speaking about the dealership, when you say to the west, are you talking about the old Chevy dealership?
Yes,
that was there?
exactly.
Okay.
I think it was Dave Ball Chevrolet.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then,
Which has now become the used car building, and part of that needs to be repaired, floor repair, a major floor repair, in order to make it showroom capable. Okay.
And that's a beautiful showroom, really was, used to be.
Used to be.
And what's behind it? Is there
And then
something-
behind the Volvo dealership is a building that sits on property acquired from the city years ago. And that is the body shop and the repair shop. So the front building has to be completely modified to Volvo standards. And quite frankly, the reason that we needed that temporary sales tax relief was to be able to order from Volvo the package, because you can't just go out and buy it from anyone. You, of course, have to buy it from the franchisor to make the dealerships all look exactly the same. With the body shop, the used cars, we don't have that constraint. So that work is yet to be done.
And that is Alan Byer's body shop?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. It's all owned by Alan Byer.
And that body shop is fairly new, isn't it? It's not that old, is it? The body shop?
It's not, but it needs things like new roof. It's a flat roof building.
Okay, so we need to make a motion to authorize a public hearing. Can I get a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye? So moved. Thank you. The commercial quarter study.
Yes. As the board will note, we contemplated doing another more comprehensive citywide analysis similar to the South Ave study this board funded and undertook in collaboration with neighborhood stakeholders on South Ave. It was successful, and I think Ricky and I were at a meeting last week talking about how to move that plan forward. With the information gleaned out of that study, it became apparent that we should probably look at doing this in other places around the city. Information is power. So we discussed this when we did the budget and contemplated an expenditure for a commercial corridor study. Staff, Judy, myself, and Eric also on the team drafted an RFP that went out last month on the 19th. Responses were due back the 15th, so Friday. We sent it out to 19 firms that do this kind of work, both local, regional, and national. We had 2 responses back. I'm going to blame it on the quick turnaround. But, you know, got to get this done. From 2 firms, Camoin Associates, and also, I'm losing the other firm's name, Place Dynamics, who are out of Wisconsin. Camoin is out of the Saratoga region, and then the other one is out of Wisconsin. You were provided with the proposals, the RFP, and also a quick evaluation form about the contents of the responses. I think the staff feels that this is a really important planning item for us to do to go forward. Not only will it help inform the board's decisions as we look at projects going forward with some solid data, but it's something that we can share with our stakeholders in the neighborhoods and around the community to empower them to make better decisions. The first tranche of information we anticipate getting from this would be a citywide data analysis that we could share with folks as they go into CFA season. I think that'll be really helpful. The board could vote today to award one of these. We could wait till next month. It's entirely up to you. I would just say, while I was disappointed with the return of the number of projects or the number of responses we got back, I think the quality of both of them is excellent. And I think we would get a great report and have a great project with either of the firms. But if you have any questions about process or how this might unfold or anything else, you know, we're here.
Did we get any response back from some of the people that didn't submit a proposal?
No.
So if we wanted to move forward, we would need to either vote on
Vote
the
to award to
vote
one
to
of the
award
2
one of the
firms.
2 firms.
Yep. And the award would be up to the amounts that they've proposed in their proposals.
And one thing for consideration, I would ask the board to consider is the timing of the CFA application annually, which was around May. So if we're making a consideration, even extending a decision into April, there will be some consideration in terms of the time crunch for folks applying.
Yeah, to Ricky's point, typically the CFA opens in mid-May, and typically it closes around the end of July. It's dependent on a number of different factors outside of our control, but that's generally the window. I think our goal is to have information by the end of June that gives people a month to incorporate it into their, gives people time to incorporate it into their proposals for state funds.
So just for the benefit of those here who don't understand what we're talking about, can you just give a quick overview of the corridors that we're proposing to do the feasibility study on?
Yes.
I know we got all of the information, but I'm not sure.
Sure, we're proposing the 4 central census tracts in the city, and this corridor is coming out of them, and you know what? I bet you they are not going to be right in front of me. I don't want to misstate them, and I may do that. Salina, North Salina.
You want my map?
Yes, I don't have it in front of me.
So North Salina is the primary. James Street up through Eastwood, I believe, correct?
Yes.
Is another primary. South Salina through Brighton is the 3rd primary, and Gaddis is the 4th?
Yes. In addition to census tracts 32, 34, 42, and 43, 01, and 02, which are the central, essentially where most of our employment centers are. Those will all get a deep dive analysis, and we have community partners in place, or we will continue to work with them to do community outreach, and that's included in this proposal. We also felt that there were corridors that would require some additional information, and we would like to, get started on that. That doesn't mean in the future we won't take another deep dive with them, but Burnett Ave, Butternut and Grant Boulevard, West Onondaga, Erie Boulevard East, and West Seneca Turnpike. I would also just note for the board's information, there are a couple of other planning initiatives unrelated to this activity that really blanket the city with some quality data gathering over the next 2 years. It's really quite exciting in a nerdy way. So it'll be something. But where we have not covered through this study in some way, shape, or form, there's some sort of complementary planning effort underway, either through collaborations with other neighborhood anchor folks or with the county on the lakefront. So we're really getting some good information to go forward.
Great.
And Nora, I'm hopeful, and you and I, of course, have just attended a few meetings this week in regards to some neighborhood community stakeholders being involved there. One area specifically that I did not hear mentioned, but I have mentioned, heard mentioned in the community group, was the Westmoreland Fayette corridor and some work in there. And so I'm looking forward to this work in terms of the community engagement aspect of getting this information out as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Staff, sorry, Steve, staff has made a
Recommendation, I was going to ask for a recommendation.
Yep, I mean, again, it came real close. Our recommendation would be to go with Camoin. We've had a great working relationship with them in the past, and that's really the only thing that's tipping for them. The only other thing is that they're slightly more local. They've done a bit more work in New York State, and they have a strong MWBE partner in Larissa Ortiz Associates.
And they were the project manager for the South Side
Yes.
study, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
I was going to ask if Mike, do you have anything there you'd like to say on this?
Nope, I think you guys have sort of covered it, and I approve of the recommendation as well from.
Okay. Motion?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye? So moved.
And just to be clear, that will authorize, the resolution will authorize the execution of a contract with Camoin Associates for up to 100 and, we'll just say 40, it's like 138 numbers, to go forward with the study.
With the study, correct. Okay, the annual report.
Last but not least, it is annual report season. Judy and Indaria on the team have been diligently working to pull all of the information together and make it look a little bit nicer than it has in the past. So I just wanted, both of their efforts have been really extraordinary. Judy does yeoman's work pulling all this information together with Mike Lasan and all of that. This is required annual reporting for public authorities law for any number of reasons, for the ABO and for the comptroller's office. This outlines our policies, our procedures, the year's work, projects we've undertaken, activities we've done. It's a fairly comprehensive document and shows, I think, that we've had quite a good year, 2018. So the resolution before you is an approval of the annual report. We do have a little bit more time to finalize it, so if there are any changes that the board would wish to see or last minute edits, we can certainly incorporate them, but it is in a fully, substantially complete form.
Any comments?
Yeah, nice
Yeah,
job.
wonderful job.
me.
Thank you. Yeah.
Team.
Can I get a motion?
Nice job, team. So moved.
Second. Yeah, all in favor? Aye. So moved. Okay. That ends the session today. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
You guys aren't going anywhere.
Yep. We're going to be here for the second session will be for SDLC.
Excuse me.
We had noticed that for 8:45, so we are able to get started
Immediately.
whenever you're ready.
People ready, or they need a break for a second? Okay. President is online. Proof of notice.
Again, I would note that proof of notice was made both here and in Albany, where Chairman Frame is, and that he is in an open public space where, should he want to be joined by the public in Albany, they could have done so.
Thank you. Committee reports. No, minutes. Approval of the minutes from the board meeting on the 27th of December. Does anybody make a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Committee reports. Kathy.
Audit committee met and reviewed with staff and team and Mike the end of year financials for 2018. Pending any changes or concerns today, we recommend approval of those of the financial audit and statement.
Great.
Michael?
See you again?
You have a different hat on?
Yeah. Did you take a walk? What'd you do?
I was trying to, well, yes, I didn't want to hand these out with the site, I confuse you guys too much. So.
We need different color. Oh, I don't.
So once again, we, do you got enough copies down there?
Yep.
We completed our audit. We met with the audit committee this past Friday, went through everything in great detail. This presentation's a lot shorter. SLDC's activities are very much more limited. But we still have the same type of required communications, similar to what we saw with SIDA. SLDC's audit went extremely well. It's the same management group that oversees the accounting and books and records. So went extremely well. Our audit opinion will be clean audit opinion, meaning unmodified, no concerns or issues there, no compliance findings, no control weaknesses. If you flip through, very similar type stuff. From an activity standpoint, there's actually no financing fees this past year, so your revenues are really just simple interest coming in, and some expenses, about $135,000 related to the AXA garage that was discussed previously. So really, from a standpoint, not a lot of activity. You have about $180,000 in cash, at the end of the year. So it's similar to what SIDA had. You have an investment compliance report, that changed quite a bit, that has all the policy procedures that are related to your investments, but all your cash is actually just purely in bank accounts, so there's not really much to deal with there. So, audit went extremely well. That's about all I had.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion?
A motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? The report is approved. Okay. Just a question. Are there any more of these in the pipeline? Anything relative to SLDC?
Any conduit bond
Yeah.
financing projects?
Yes,
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Okay. Yeah.
We need some money.
Under new business, financial statements. John?
We just did that.
Okay, yes, we did. Okay, I'm almost here, folks, don't worry.
You were on vacation, we get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
100 Madison Street, the AXA project.
Again, as previously discussed with your SIDA hats on, there is a, Sue represents both the SLDC and SIDA and drafted the cooperation agreement. That presents a conflict. So this is just a waiver of that conflict. And again, on standby should we need him is Chris Centaur with Barclay Damon, who did work very closely with the team on the drafting of the project documents relative to this, is up to speed and willing to step in.
So I need a motion.
Yes, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Go ahead. The
It
AXA.
says you, but I can do it.
Well, I can do it.
So,
This cooperation agreement that you are being asked to participate in really brings together three entities, the city, SIDA, and this group, to accomplish what none of them individually could accomplish for the betterment of the constituents that each body serves. So, as you heard the deputy mayor in your SIDA board meeting say, this is a pivotal project for that corridor of the city. It not only is an integral part of retaining current employees in the AXA towers and attracting new employees and new business owners, but it also is a catalyst for what is going to be the new Surge project, what is going to service other projects already undertaken by SIDA in that area, including the Hotel Syracuse and other projects. SIDA, just as you know, recently closed on a transaction with AmTrust, who is the owner of the two AXA towers, which will result in a commitment of capital improvements of almost $20 million from the company. All of this hinges on the renovation of that garage, which is currently owned, at least in part, by the city and managed entirely by the city. So each entity that is part of this cooperation agreement has what I call skin in the game. So the city has already spent millions of dollars over the course of its involvement. SIDA is being asked and has just approved the dedication of $1.5 million as a capital infusion. And the SLDC has previously authorized assuming ownership of the garage once all the pieces align and undertaking the necessary repairs. All of that being contingent on several things, including the finalization of financing, part of which will come from the state. This effort and this initiative is aimed at allowing the project to move forward while all of those other pieces align, so that we don't lose any additional time and so that we don't incur any additional negative detriments to the garage as it sits today. And the CNS has advised us that moving forward will help prevent additional deterioration in the garage. So it is a very important agreement to allow these parties to come together and collectively move an initiative forward. So
I would just add for clarity's sake that the total project, while there is a critical need in the facility, the parking facility, that the project itself encompasses the entire plaza and is a real facelift to that public space, and in collaboration with proposed expansion at the Tech Garden, and we've talked with them, that these are very much interconnected projects that are going to improve public space as well. That, you know, it's that space is the roof of our facility, but it also has its own needs and desires. And, you know, there's a lot of really good activity between the Tech Garden and the Hotel Syracuse to make this space a more usable, more collaborative space when we meet the contingencies and move forward. But again, this cooperation agreement puts the pieces in place. The second part of this resolution is to authorize SLDC to move forward with CNS companies for the design portion of the project and keep the ball rolling, so to speak.
Go ahead.
I just want to note, and I completely agree with everything Nora said, but the agreement that this resolution is also asking you to be able to execute and move forward with is the CNS component, and the initial investment is $525,000 for CNS to undertake the ongoing design phase that they need to do. The SLDC is being asked to enter that agreement contingent upon all the parties signing the cooperation agreement, because the infusion of cash by SIDA will fund that piece of the CNS contract. So this board is not going to be spending its own cash on that portion of the CNS contract. I just wanted, given what we heard from Mike and
so
the
that
financial
was my
position.
question, since we don't have that cash.
Right. We're very
it was
careful
gonna be
about
hard
not
for us to do that.
Yes, but the agreement, the cooperation agreement.
So we are stipulating that all the SLDC contract application is contingent on the three-way MOU with the funding streams being shared, certainly not equally even.
That is correct.
That most likely lead funding will start with SIDA, I'm assuming.
Right, it's 100% correct.
And I would just note
Up
also
to 1.5 we
well, it's a 1.5 infusion, but any drawdowns in that money will obviously be approved by this board pursuant to its procurement policy. The first one of which is the design portion with CNS that's here.
Right. Okay.
And the contract,
I just wanted to make sure we all understood how it was going to go.
Right. And the contract you're signing with CNS will not bind you to spend additional monies beyond the 525 unless and until your financing is in place. Right.
Well, and it has to come back. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Can I get a motion for
So
the
moved.
resolution? Yeah.
So moved.
Second. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Annual report.
Once again, it is the end of our fiscal year. We are due to report to the authority's budget office under the Public Authorities Law on our activities this year. Hot off the presses is this year's annual report. Again, it is a summary of our activities and our policies. It is substantially complete. We do have, obviously, till the end of the month to finalize it. If there's any edits or comments the board has, we can certainly incorporate them. But the action before you is to approve the annual report, and we can certainly make it contingent upon any edits that the board may have over the next couple of days.
I'll move that.
Thank you. Is this online also? Do we know?
Not yet.
Yep, okay. Take a motion. Second, all in favor? Yep, Kathy first. Okay, that concludes the meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So adjourned. Thank you very